how to deal with cognitive dissonance. Since we cannot just turn it off, I will give you 5 tips on how to exploit your cognitive dissonance in a way that serves you. See, dissonance is a psychological defense mechanism, so it kicks in automatically. The only thing we can decide is if it's working against us or if it's working for us. Tip number 1, debate yourself. Let's take working out as an example. How many of us try to work out only to postpone it till next week, next month, or next year? We postpone because we're lazy, and our cognitive dissonance protects us from confessing that we're lazy, so we convince ourselves that we are not lazy, we're just not starting right now. A good counter strategy is to debate yourself. To debate yourself, you will play both sides of the argument. You will ask yourself, why should you start now? And then also will ask the exact opposite, why should you wait? Now you only have to provide all the facts that you can come up with for both sides. That's important. And simply the side with the better arguments is going to win the debate. Whatever wins the debate, you have to follow. When you debate yourself, what's going to happen is you're going to increase your cognitive dissonance. You're not going to lower it. One side of the argument will be very logical, and the other side will be rather illogical. And you would feel like a hypocrite if you follow the illogical part rather than the logical one. Therefore, the debate yourself technique gives you or brings you back to reality, and it helps you to see the facts clear and do what's right for you. Tip number 1, debate yourself. Tip number 2, preach what you want to achieve. Next time when you're with your friends, preach about what you want to achieve. Preach about what you want to change about yourself or what you think is good for them. Become a preacher of your own goal. So let's say you're with your family members and you want to apply this technique. What you would do is you simply preach what you want to achieve. The trick of this exercise is that you talk about things that you actually want to accomplish. If you preach to your friends and family members what you want to achieve, at some point they're going to ask themselves, are you even doing it? Maybe they will ask you directly. And if your answer is no at that point, you will feel pretty bad about yourself. When you preach to other people your own goals and you're not actually doing them yourself, then this can make you feel dishonest or unease. And it's simply because you're not doing what you're preaching. And this means you feel like a hypocrite. On one hand, you will feel like a hypocrite. And on the other hand, we all believe that we are good people. So I'm a hypocrite and I'm a good person. These two create cognitive dissonance. They don't go together. In order to resolve this conflict, in order to solve it, you will have to work harder for your goal. You will have to actually accomplish what you're preaching about. And you will feel the strong need and desire to do so. Tip number 2, preach what you want to achieve. Tip number 3, take facts, not opinions. Let's look at an example together. Let's take this boy and this girl. On the outside, they look pretty much alike. So in our opinion, we would say they are both happy. But the fact of the matter is that the boy is not happy, he just woke up. So facts are statements that can be proven, and opinions are statements that shows how someone feels or thinks. Let me show you another example to really see the difference between facts and opinions. This is Mike and this is Sam. Now Mike has always been lending money to Sam since a very long time. And Sam never has paid it back, any of it. Now let me ask you this, what would your advice be to Mike if you knew on top of that Sam even bought a new phone and he has never paid Mike back a single dime? What would your advice be? Easy. We would simply advise him, stop lending him money. Because we know the facts. We know Sam always borrows from Mike. We know Sam never pays back. And Sam just bought a new phone. These facts are enough to tell Mike, stop lending him. But Mike keeps on doing it. And here's why. In Mike's opinion, that's what he sees. Sam is poor. Sam needs my help. And Sam will pay me when he can. Now, by following the facts like we did, we come to a simple conclusion. Stop lending him money and cut your losses. Mike doesn't follow the facts, he follows his opinion, and therefore he keeps on lending him and he keeps on losing. But the question is how to see the facts. The first thing to do would be to write them down simply. Grab a pen and a paper and write down all the facts. In Mike's case, he would only write down the facts, not his opinion. He would write down how much money he lent him, how much money he got back, and what did Sam do, like he bought a new phone. Another tip would be to make your story about someone else. So with Sam and Mike simply removes himself and replaces himself with Tim. Now he tells the story to himself, but in the eyes of Tim, as if it happened to Tim. When you do that, you can see the facts very clearly because you are not emotionally attached to Tim. And another tip to see the facts would be to tell your story to family and friends. Mike could simply describe to his family what's exactly happening between him and Sam, and then ask for their opinion. Their opinion in this case will be valid because they see the situation for what it is. They don't have an emotional attachment to it. The reason why that is because of the stinky room concept. When you spend a long time in a stinky room, you don't smell it anymore. At some point, it's just normal to you. But if other people enter this room, they'd be like, hell, what's going on here? Yeah, they can smell it right away. Looking at the facts destroys any cognitive dissonance that you might experience. That's the purpose of a fact. It lowers your own dissonance. And when your dissonance is low, you can focus on what you want to accomplish and you can reach your goals. Tip number 3, take facts, not opinions. Tip number 4, small commitments. Let's say you have 2 credit cards. One with $450 to pay and low interest level, and the other one is a big position with $2,500 to pay and high interest level. Now, which one would be better and smarter to pay first? Pretty obvious, right? The big one, obviously, where we pay a lot of interest. But from psychology, that's not true. Studies have shown that when people pay the small credit card first, the happiness that they get out of it will lead them to pay the big credit card. The people who first paid off the small credit card had a sense of accomplishment, and this feeling of accomplishment gave them happiness that led them to pay the big credit card. And many people who started off with the big credit card first, they got frustrated because they didn't see any progress and they abandoned it again. So in effect, it's better to pay the small one first for your own psychology. What's happening here is that we are establishing a thought of that we can do it, that we can accomplish things, and we find happiness for the process. So even though from the simple math point of view, it's better to pay the big one first, from psychology, small commitments are the better choice to go. It's the same in the fitness world. Let's say Telly here wants to lose 20 kilograms, and that's her goal, but it will take her a long time, like a couple of months of diet and sport. So it's better for her she starts with a small goal, like 1 kilogram. She can accomplish this fast, and this fast accomplishment will lead her to the big goal. The reason why this works is 20 kilogram is a huge goal, and this can seem overwhelming. Well, a 1 kilogram is easy to accomplish and will give you easy happiness. In effect, our cognitive dissonance is shaped by us, by this method. We tell our psychology we can do it, we already did it. And when you believe about yourself that you can accomplish goals, then the magic happens and you actually accomplish your goals. It's also known as positive reinforcement. Here's why this works. Our brain functions in pathways. Whenever you believe something, your brain creates a pathway. We could also say when it fires, it wires. So in effect, when you tell your brain, I can, your brain says, I agree. And on the other hand, if you tell your brain, I can't, your brain also says, I agree. With small commitments, you convince your brain that you can, that you are the guy who loses weight, that you are the guy who pays off the credit card. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Tip number 4, small commitments. Tip number 5, only look at yourself. We as humans, when we do something amazing like acing a test, we take all the credit for it. We don't say the test was easy or I had plenty of time. No, we say I'm amazing. We say it was all me. On the other hand, if we fail the test, we tend to blame everything else but ourselves. We would blame the bad weather maybe. We would blame that we had a bad teacher. We would even say we had a stupid pencil. In a nutshell, we tend to say it was not my fault. If we fail at something in life, we tend to let external factors control us. We blame other people, our family, circumstances, or the boss we're working for, politics, or even the romantic partner we're with. Instead of looking at ourselves, we blame everything else. Why do we blame external factors? When we fail, our cognitive dissonance rises. Because we don't like to view ourselves as someone who does mistakes, we come up with excuses to relieve us from the dissonance and to stay flawless. In order to grow as a person, we should take credit for our failures just as we take credit for our success. Instead of saying not my fault, we should say it is my fault. I didn't study enough. I should have listened in class, or I shouldn't have partied. Let me give you some wisdom from the AA meetings. They actually have an AA serenity prayer that goes like this. God, give me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. First, accept the things I cannot change. Things that we cannot change are external factors. Other people, politics, our family members, we cannot change these factors. We have to accept them therefore. And change the things I can. Like myself, I can change my own behavior. I can change how I act and how I think. And the wisdom to know the difference. When you mix up things that you cannot change and can change, that's when the problems happen. Most people think they cannot change themselves, but they think they can change the external factors. So there's a lot of wisdom in this little serenity prayer. That's why I wanted to share it with you. In a nutshell, this means you cannot change external factors, but you can change yourself. The Sams of the world, or the woman who will break your heart, the bad teachers, toxic people, those are things that you don't have influence of. You can't control them, but you can control yourself. Tip number 5, only look at yourself. Let's come to the conclusion of this video. First of all of us experience dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is universal. Every human being has it. It is just up to us to decide if we use it for us or if we want to use it against us. Most people, unfortunately, become Captain No Mistakes. They didn't do anything wrong. So they use their dissonance to protect their ego. And they spend massive amount of time and energy to protect themselves. But if you are protecting yourself all the time, the simple truth is you will not grow as a person. We all start out as little babies. And we're doing many mistakes and we learn from them. And then we grow into a childhood and adolescent where we do even more mistakes. And from that we grow into a grown-up where, you guessed it, we're doing a hell lot of more mistakes. How do we grow? And it's a simple answer. By admitting our mistakes. And when we admitted them, we learn from them. In other words, the foundation of growth as a person comes from doing mistakes, then admitting them and learning from them. That's a healthy process. So here are the 4 final things that you need to understand as key takeaways from this video. Number 1, your own defense mechanisms and your tendency to reduce dissonance. In short, this means when someone says, Eric, you did a mistake, instead of using my defense strategy and saying the person is stupid or silly, I should listen and think about it and admit the mistake to grow from it. Number 2, the performing stupid actions does not mean you're stupid. Number 3, when you accept mistakes, you strengthen your ego, you don't hurt it. What does this mean? People who accept their mistakes, they are actually strengthening themselves because they will stop doing the same thing over and over again. Other people who just do not want to acknowledge that they did a mistake, they will keep on repeating the same thing all over again. So when you accept a mistake, you actually strengthen yourself. Number 4, to get better, you need to recognize the benefit of admitting your mistakes. If you haven't watched part 1, what is cognitive dissonance, you can watch it here. Otherwise, watch this video next. I'm Eric Truman. If you found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Right under this video, I also linked you a free PDF about self-confidence and how to boost your self-confidence. So go ahead, check that out. Thanks for watching, and I see you in the next one.